On the vast battlefield of Roman history, some legions stood out not just for their bravery, but for a reputation that transcended time, the reputation of being invincible. These military units, forged in the fire of countless campaigns, became legendary, known as the Immortal Warriors of Rome. But what made these legions something beyond the ordinary? How did they manage to win battle after battle, building a legacy of consecutive victories that seemed to defy the very rules of war? These legions were more than just soldiers. They were war machines, driven by strict discipline, superior tactics, and unmatched leadership. The combination of intense training, internal cohesion, and a mentality that never accepted defeat elevated them to the status of living legends. Through their ranks, Rome expanded its borders, defeated seemingly insurmountable enemies, and secured dominance over vast territories. In this video, we'll dive into the stories of these invincible legions, exploring the tactics, strategies, and culture of excellence that made them feared across the empire. We'll uncover how their victories shaped the destiny of Rome and solidified their reputation as the most formidable forces of antiquity. If you want to understand what it truly meant to be an invincible Roman legion, get ready to immerse yourself in the stories of warriors who never knew defeat and who left an indelible mark on Rome's military history. The origin of the invincible legions, foundation and early victories. Rome's invincible legions didn't start with that status. It was earned through decisive battles and grueling campaigns. In the early days of the Republic, legions were made up of citizens who answered the call to arms during times of war. As Rome expanded, the need arose for a standing army, composed of professional soldiers who were rigorously trained and disciplined. This transformation marked the beginning of a new military era, where organization and strategy became key. One of the legions that quickly made a name for itself was the Legio Exequestris, under the command of Julius Caesar. During the Gallic Wars, this unit displayed an unyielding combination of bravery and innovative tactics, securing Caesar's victories in pivotal battles like the Siege of Alesia. The reputation of these legions as invincible began to form as they racked up victory after victory, creating an aura that struck fear into enemies and pride in their own soldiers. The concept of invincible legions was further solidified as these units faced and defeated increasingly powerful foes. The Legio III Gallica, for instance, demonstrated its strength in campaigns in the East, confronting unfamiliar adversaries with impressive efficiency. The successive victories of these legions became part of Rome's military narrative, creating a myth of invulnerability that often demoralized opponents before the fighting even began. These legions were not just war machines. They were symbols of Roman power. Every standard carried into battle represented the glory of Rome and the soldiers' commitment to fight to the death if necessary. The identity of these legions was deeply tied to the fate of the Roman Empire, and their victories helped expand and secure Rome's vast territories. The early victories of these legions laid the foundation for a military legacy that would endure for centuries. The stories of their conquests echoed throughout the empire, inspiring future generations of soldiers and cementing the idea that Rome was an unstoppable force. The invincible legions became living legends, a testament to the military might and tactical genius that fueled Rome's expansion. Discipline and training, the secret to invincibility. Discipline was the driving force behind the invincibility of the Roman legions. From the very first day of enlistment, soldiers were subjected to rigorous training, designed to toughen both body and mind. Physical training involved long marches, endurance exercises, and constant practice with weapons, ensuring that each legionary was prepared to withstand the hardships of the battlefield. More than just physical strength, it was their mental discipline that set these men apart. They were taught to obey orders without question and to maintain formation even in the most chaotic situations. Roman legion training also focused heavily on tactics and maneuvers. Every soldier learned to fight as part of a cohesive unit, where survival depended on perfect coordination between the members of the legion. Maneuvers like the testudo, the famous tortoise-shaped shield formation, showcased how discipline and constant practice could turn a group of men into an impenetrable wall. This meticulous preparation for combat was one of the key factors that made the Roman legions nearly invincible against less organized enemies. Another crucial aspect was the severity of punishments for breaking discipline. Indiscipline was dealt with harshly, with punishments ranging from demotion to execution. Collective punishment like decimation, where 1 in every 10 men in a unit was executed, kept all soldiers in a state of constant vigilance. The fear of severe punishments reinforced the legion's cohesion, ensuring that every soldier followed orders with precision and determination, even in the face of extreme danger. Discipline also extended beyond the battlefield. Soldiers were required to keep their weapons in perfect condition, participate in daily drills, and adhere to a strict code of conduct. This constant routine of discipline created a sense of identity and pride among legionaries, who saw themselves as part of a military elite. Dedication to discipline turned the legions into well-oiled war machines, always ready for combat. Through this relentless system of discipline and training, the Roman legions not only prepared for battle, but also shaped themselves into an invincible force. Every soldier knew exactly what was expected of him, and the certainty that his comrades would do the same created unshakable confidence. This combination of rigorous discipline and intense training was at the heart of the Roman legion's invincibility, ensuring they were always one step ahead of their adversaries. Combat tactics, game-changing innovations. The Roman legions weren't just disciplined, they were strategically superior. The combat tactics developed by the Romans changed the course of many battles, solidifying their reputation for invincibility. One of the key innovations was the maniple, a combat formation that allowed for greater flexibility and mobility on the battlefield. Instead of a tight mass, like the Greek phalanxes, the Roman legions were organized into smaller groups, or maniples, which could move and react independently, adapting to changes in terrain and enemy tactics. Another tactic that set the Roman legions apart was the efficient use of temporary fortifications, known as castra. At the end of each day's march, the legions would build a fortified camp, which not only protected the soldiers overnight, but also showcased the army's discipline and organization. These camps were designed to be highly defensible, making any enemy attack extremely difficult. The ability to quickly build and defend these fortifications was one of the many factors that contributed to the legion's invincibility. The combination of heavy infantry with support units was another innovative tactic. The legions were backed by auxiliary troops, which included archers, cavalry, and spearmen. This combination allowed the legions to adapt to different types of enemies and situations. Rather than relying solely on brute force, the Roman legions used coordination between different types of troops to maximize battlefield effectiveness. This gave them a decisive edge over armies that were not as well organized or that depended on a single form of combat. The legions were also masters of deceiving the enemy. In many campaigns, Roman generals used misinformation, false retreats, and ambushes to confuse and defeat numerically superior foes. The Battle of Cannae, though a defeat for Rome, was an example of how tactical flexibility could be deadly, with Hannibal using Roman tactics against them. The Romans learned from this defeat and adapted their tactics to prevent similar mistakes from happening again, showing a unique ability to learn and evolve from their own failures. These tactical innovations made the Roman legions a feared and respected force throughout the ancient world. Their ability to adapt and innovate on the battlefield ensured that, regardless of the enemy or terrain, the Roman legions always had a strategic advantage. These tactics not only won battles but also solidified the empire, allowing Rome to control vast territories with unparalleled military efficiency. Unmatched leadership, the generals who forged invincibility. Behind Rome's invincible legions were generals whose unmatched leadership was the decisive factor in their victories. Leaders like Julius Caesar, Augustus, and Mark Antony didn't just command their soldiers. They inspired fierce loyalty and unwavering determination. These generals had an extraordinary ability to read the battlefield and make quick decisions, often under extreme pressure, which was essential to the legion's success. They were masters of the art of war, combining personal bravery with sharp strategic minds. Julius Caesar's leadership, in particular, became legendary. During the Gallic Wars, he displayed a unique ability to motivate his troops, often fighting alongside them on the front lines. His willingness to share the risks of battle with his men created a deep bond between the general and his soldiers, who were willing to follow him in any circumstance. This personal connection, combined with his tactical brilliance, made his legions an almost unbeatable force. Moreover, these generals were known for their ability to adapt their strategies to ever-changing circumstances. They didn't blindly follow the rules of war. Instead, they shaped the rules based on the needs of each battle. This strategic flexibility was crucial in facing enemies as diverse as the Germanic tribes, the Parthians, and the Carthaginians. Generals like Scipio Africanus, who defeated Hannibal at the Battle of Zama, exemplify this adaptability. They studied their enemies closely, identifying weaknesses and exploiting them with lethal precision. Another key aspect of these generals' leadership was their ability to keep morale high, even in desperate situations. They understood that a motivated army was far more effective, and that high morale could turn an imminent defeat into a victory. In the toughest battles, fiery pre-battle speeches and promises of tangible rewards, such as land and honors, strengthened the legionaries' resolve. The confidence these leaders instilled was a crucial factor in the legion's invincibility. The leadership of these generals often determined the outcome of a battle. Their combination of charisma, courage, and military intelligence turned the legions into extensions of their own will. The victories they achieved were not just the result of brute force or numbers, but of masterful application of tactics, understanding their enemies' weaknesses, and the unshakable motivation of their troops. Rome's generals forged invincible legions not just through training or discipline, but through their ability to lead with vision and determination. Cohesion and morale, the internal strength of the legions. The internal cohesion of the Roman legions was one of the pillars of their invincibility. More than just military units, the legions functioned as tightly knit communities where mutual loyalty and camaraderie were fundamental. Every legionary knew that their survival and success depended on the unity of the group, and this understanding fostered a cohesion that went beyond mere military duty. Daily living, joint training, and shared combat experiences forged deep bonds among the soldiers. High morale was a direct result of this cohesion. Roman soldiers were immensely proud to belong to an invincible legion, and this pride was reflected in their determination on the battlefield. Even when facing overwhelming odds, their unshakable belief in the superiority of their unit and the righteousness of their cause drove the legionaries to fight with even greater ferocity. This sense of collective identity and purpose was constantly reinforced by legion leaders, who knew how to keep morale high in times of difficulty. The legion's culture also played a crucial role in maintaining cohesion. There was a strong emphasis on traditions and rituals that brought the soldiers together, from victory celebrations to honoring the fallen. These practices created a sense of continuity and belonging, where each soldier saw themselves as part of a greater story that transcended their own life. Mutual respect among the soldiers and confidence in each other's abilities were strengthened by this shared culture, making the legions a united and cohesive force. Another important factor in the legion's cohesion was the clear command structure, which ensured that every soldier knew their exact role and who they were to obey. The hierarchy within the legion was strictly maintained, but it was also merit-based, encouraging soldiers to excel in order to earn promotions. This meritocracy reinforced loyalty to the legion, as soldiers knew their efforts could be rewarded. Confidence in leadership and the fairness of promotions created an environment where cohesion thrived. Finally, cohesion and morale were not just internal aspects. They had a direct impact on the legion's performance in combat. The Roman legions were known for their ability to maintain formation and follow orders even under intense enemy fire. a testament to the strength of their cohesion. High morale meant that soldiers were willing to fight to the end, knowing their comrades would do the same. This indomitable spirit was one of the reasons why the Roman legions were feared throughout the ancient world and why they often emerged victorious, even in the most adverse situations. Decisive campaigns, victories that sealed the fate of the empire. Rome's invincible legions earned their reputation in battles that shaped the destiny of the empire. Each victorious campaign not only expanded Rome's borders, but also reinforced the belief that these legions were unbeatable forces. The conquest of Gaul, led by Julius Caesar, is a clear example of how a series of victories can transform the course of a nation. For nearly a decade, Caesar's legions faced fierce Gallic tribes in intense combat, overcoming numerically superior armies thanks to their discipline and superior tactics. The final victory at Alesia not only subdued Gaul, but also cemented Caesar's power, paving the way for the end of the Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire. Another campaign that highlighted the invincibility of the legions was the war against Hannibal during the Second Punic War. Despite early setbacks, including the devastating defeat at Cannae, the Roman legions demonstrated extraordinary resilience. Under the leadership of Scipio Africanus, they adapted their tactics and eventually brought the war to Carthage's doorstep. The decisive victory at the Battle of Zama not only ended the Carthaginian threat, but also established Rome as the dominant power in the Western Mediterranean. This triumph was a testament to the legion's ability to learn from defeats and come back stronger. Campaigns in the East, especially against the Parthians and Seleucids, were also pivotal moments where the legions showcased their superiority. The Legio III Gallica, for instance, played a crucial role in Rome's conquests in Syria and Judea. Facing enemies who used asymmetrical warfare tactics, such as the Parthian horse archers, the Roman legions adapted their strategies to counter these threats, demonstrating a flexibility that often surprised their adversaries. These victories secured Roman control over strategically important and wealthy regions, further solidifying Rome's position as the dominant empire. Trajan's campaigns in Dacia and the East marked another high point in Roman invincibility. The conquest of Dacia not only brought immense wealth to Rome in the form of gold and resources, but also showcased the legion's ability to operate in difficult terrain and face formidable enemies. In the East, Trajan's legions extended Roman control into Mesopotamia, reaching the furthest extent of the empire's territorial expansion. These victories not only expanded Rome's borders, but also reinforced the reputation of its legions as the most effective and feared fighting forces in the ancient world. The decisive campaigns of the Roman legions were, therefore, far more than mere territorial conquests. They were events that shaped the history of the ancient world. Each victory strengthened the myth of the legion's invincibility, creating an image of Rome as an unstoppable power destined to rule. This string of triumphs ensured the empire's stability for centuries, laying the foundation upon which Rome built its enduring civilization.